Hey, we talked about Game Toppers earlier, 3.0 Kickstarter. It's going on right now at the release of this episode. It is funded. You got to worry about, if I put money towards it, will I get it? Yes, you will get it because it is easily funded. People are going out there getting these new versions of the toppers. They're getting game mats. Now the toppers can have legs attached to them. There's a bunch of different sizes of tables. There's a bunch of different sizes of mats, all for really good prices on the Kickstarter right now. He makes high quality products. Tony has one. He loves his, right?
Oh, absolutely love mine. Rolling that thing out, rolling out the mat. People come in and go, what is that? But what I'm really going to enjoy is getting those legs.
She's got legs.
I always pause.
It's kind of a thing now.
I know it's a thing, and I know you're going to do it. So yes, the legs, just like you'll hear me talk about in an upcoming portion about if I had legs, I could take this to a store that may want to do a board game night. I could just quickly throw this thing out if they're not able to support it. That's awesome.
So to make sure to check out the Kickstarter going on right now. We have a link in our show notes. So check it out. Back it. You won't regret it.
Hey y'all, it's time for Rolling Dice and Taking Names. In this thirst-quenching episode, the guys review the meaty flippin' right Hadrian's Wall, the chill worker placement game Cryo. Marty and I go head-to-head in the game Face-to-Face. The guys do some quick hits of recently played games, and they have not one, but two zero-sugar soft drink taste tests.
Hello and welcome back to Rolling Dice and Taking Names. This is episode number 228, Rocketman. I am Tony, and would you stop flashing your fingers at me?
It's multiple fingers. It's not one, like it usually is. I knew there was no way you could pass on not using Rocketman for the title of this episode.
Well, I looked at various song titles for this because some of the songs, we're going to talk about Rocketmen from Martin Wallace on this show. We're going to talk about a new game called Cryo, and I was looking along those lines, and then Hadrian's Wall. So I had another Brick in the Wall, Rocketman.
Oh, Brick in the Wall. That's a good one too.
And then I was looking at what songs about ice or freezing and things like that because
Cold as ice.
Yeah, Foreigner, that was on the list because that's about going into space. Rocketmen was going into space. Cryo was about being in space, being frozen in space.
Hadrian's Wall has nothing to do with space.
It has nothing to do with space. It has just being in your own space when you're playing, which we'll discuss. But I will say one thing.
What's the one thing?
Just finished up with a little lawn work here. Just finished mowing the yard, getting everything trimmed, edged up. And I'm glad you're taking time to record on this Sunday afternoon. I appreciate that.
That's right. In fact, when we're done, I'm going to crank up my brand new battery-powered leaf blower to get rid of all those oak pollen pods that are all over our deck and driveway. Do you have a lot of oak trees around your area that drops those nasty pollen pods?
No, that the house moved in 3 years ago. They're still getting the new trees and things like that. So we don't have that. We do have a lot of the whirlybirds that come flying down. What seed is that? What tree is that from?
I'm glad you said that. Vanessa and I were sitting on the deck a couple weeks ago, and she said, the cherry blossoms are out. And I said, we have one small cherry tree. There's no way the rain of these helicopter things coming down is from that one tree. And then we couldn't figure out what tree has the little, is it way to deliver pollen? It's basically these little, I don't know how to explain it. It's these little whirlybirds, like you said, when they float and then they spin so they can carry great distances once they drop from a tree.
And it's actually a maple tree.
It is?
Yeah, it's a maple tree. It's the seed pod from a maple tree.
I didn't realize we had that many maple trees around, I guess.
Right. So as the maple tree begins to bloom, flower, it produces the seed pods, just like every tree. And then when the leaves pop out, they release the seed pods and they go spinning down. It's so cool.
Yeah, it rained all over the place. So anyway, because of all that, it's like, all right. I remember a previous episode I talked about how the gas-powered leaf blower went away. So I said, I'm going to get a battery-powered one. So I got one. I opened it up. I was excited about it. It's like, man, this thing seems a little small. So I went out there and it was like, I was like, what the heck is going on? So I went to go and blow some pine straw, and it was like, this ain't moving anything. And I was like, I don't get it. So I went and looked, and it was like I had 150 mile an hour air that's supposed to come out of it. And I went, okay, what's the CFM? And the CFM, which is cubic feet per minute, which is amount of air that comes out, was only like 150. And I went, oh, I guess that's not high enough. And I told Vanessa, I said, this ain't going to move squat. And she said, well, then we can't keep it. Send it back. So luckily, Amazon has a nice return policy where you can go and say, look, this didn't work. And this, fine, here's your return. Would you like to exchange it for something else? Yes. I now want to get this other one, which is kind of an upgrade, which still has 150 mile an hour air coming out of it, but it's 350 cubic feet per minute. And I said, that should move some stuff. So it's an 80 volt battery on this bad boy. Mm-hmm. It is a big bad boy. And so I got it. It was like, it will move everything. I'm like, okay, now we're playing with power. So once we're done here, that's what I'm going to use to blow off all these oak tree pollen pods.
But the key is, does your battery work with the weed eater? Because that is probably one of the things.
It does not, because the weed eater is only 40 volt. And the reason why I paired those two original ones together so they can swap batteries is like, all right, I'm not going to upgrade the weed eater to an 80 volt because I don't need no 80 volt. I don't use it that long. I can knock out the trimming in the amount of time that battery would run dead. But a big old honking battery on the leaf blower is going to go a long way. So I had to upgrade. I needed more power. I got it.
Good for you. I'm glad that you were able to get that rectified because I know that it's in the show notes. I'm like, somebody's not happy with his leaf blower.
Nope. I was not. So I'm excited to use that for the first time when we get off here. But before we get started, Tony, we got a lot of games that we're going to hit real quick. But before, we have 2 taste tests in this episode. Now, typically in the past, we do soft drink taste tests, and they're usually diet because we're trying to cut out the sugar. And Vanessa brought 2 brand new zero sugar drinks that she found. And we're going to try one at the beginning of the show and enjoy it through the show, and then one in the outro. So here we go. The first one is Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Now, I don't know about you, Tony, but over many, many years ago, multiple decades ago probably, when I was trying to kick sugar drinks, I heard this, like, try Diet Dr. Pepper. It's the closest to the original, and it doesn't have that bad of an aftertaste. And it was true. It did not. But over the years, I kind of stopped drinking it because I found better ones. So I am really anxious to try the zero sugar to see if it tastes better than the Diet Dr. Pepper. So, sir, are you even a Dr. Pepper fan?
I am not. I've never been a Dr. Pepper fan. I mean, I can tolerate it. It's just not one of those things. And then also, didn't Dr. Pepper during the pandemic last year, they had a large shortage, and a lot of it was due to the aluminum shortages and things like that. So it's good that things are catching up from that standpoint.
Good timing. There's a website, a YouTube channel called Company Man, which talks about the rise and fall of companies. And just this past week, before we recorded, he did a feature on Dr. Pepper, and it's Dr. Pepper Keurig. So this company has a lot of coffee, the Keurig coffee drinks, and a lot of soft drinks. And it's really interesting to hear how this company is basically going up against Pepsi and Coke. Still mighty small compared to those two, but a very successful company. So that's on the YouTube channel Company Man if you want to see the history of Dr. Pepper.
All right. So let's see. That was the other reason why I came in off the lawn mowing. I'm parched. Can we try this?
Let's do it. Here we go. Let's pop this bad boy. Oh, you already had yours open. Mm-hmm. All right.
It's good. I hadn't had a Dr. Pepper in forever, so I was kind of curious. I don't even remember the taste. It's been so long.
So, Dr. Pepper usually has a very strong, it hits hard like the back of the throat. I don't think this does as much as the original.
See, I can't. I have no comparison. I was just curious if I was going to like it. I'm excited with zero sugar.
It's better than Diet Dr. Pepper. 100%. Okay. It's better than Diet Dr. Pepper. It's good. I don't know if it's one of those things I ever crave Dr. Pepper that often, but it is nice knowing that it is an option in the zero sugar. I don't know what the magic of zero sugar. Everybody has a zero sugar everything now. I don't know what the magic ingredient is for the sweetener, but whatever it is, it's pretty stinking good in every one that I've ever tried. And we have one we're going to try at the end of the show too, a new Mountain Dew one, of course, because there are 1,000 Mountain Dew flavors.
Well, I know I was going to bring you a new Mountain Dew flavor that I found, but it was not zero sugar. And you were like, I'm sorry, man, can't do it. I was like, okay, fine. Then I'll just drink them all myself. But it's the USA Mountain Dew, 170 calories. And
Sheesh.
And then it's the combination of red, Mountain Dew Code Red, Volt, and another one that we will be trying. So it's very, even Donna didn't mind it. I was like, get out of town. And she's not a Mountain Dew fan. So I may still bring that to you and force feed it to you. I don't know.
I mean, I'll try it. It's the sugar drinks are just so sweet to me now. I just can't do it. I literally put no sugar in any drinks anymore. Only thing I'll do is like a half sweet, half unsweet tea. If like I go to a place and it's like, I just need some decent tea, just give me half and half. And even half and half is good enough for me.
I mean, I guess I can handle it. So, I mean, I'm drinking 170. I drank Pepsi Mango full tilt bozo, but I tell you, it's a one enough. It works for me. So I'm on the way to the grocery store and I stopped by the local comic book shop. In the show notes, it says the price of friendship. You are costing me money, sir.
Am I?
Yes.
Is it my fault that you're buying books?
Yes, because I would have never stopped in there if it wasn't for you. And by the way, I could not pick up the original comic of Dark Hawk. I'll go back later this week and get it for you because the sky opened up. It was raining so hard. And I said, I don't think Marty's going to want it to be soaked.
Don't they have bags?
As hard as it was coming down, I don't think it would have mattered.
And I appreciate you picking up the variant of Dark Hawk for me. At least I have that. If I don't get the original, that's cool. But I want to read one. I didn't even open the one you gave me because I don't want to read it yet because I don't want to open it. So if you get me the regular, I'll read it.
Yeah, and so then I'm talking to the guy who owns the comic shop, Doc. I think he's an actual doctor. But he was sitting there and we were talking about the various comics. And I was like, well, I need one of you to start pulling me one a month. Just give me one. And I'll be happy. Support the local shop, man. I enjoy coming in here. But I remember going into the old comic book store near our apartment and how they would have racks and racks and racks of comics, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He doesn't have that. He says he doesn't really need to do that. He just buys what people are interested in. They come in and tell him, hey, we're interested in these. And that's all he will purchase, which I think is brilliant.
It is brilliant, but what about those that just come into the shop and just kind of want to browse and maybe something will catch their eye without having to talk to somebody?
Well, that would be like me, but I'm going to talk to someone. But he's got everything just right there. He's got the big ones, the Superman, people that, the ones that people know. But he did tell me that Spawn was coming out, so I got on that list, a new Spawn. I said, okay, I'll do that. Spawn was a comic that you and I got back in, what was that, 90s, early 90s?
Early 90s, and both you and I have Spawn #1, which is actually a decent price, and we probably should get both of ours graded.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was telling me McFarlane is not even raising his comics. His comics are still going to be $2.99.
I think that guy has done a lot for the industry.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited because it's going to be Spawn, some type of Spawn universe, and then they'll have a bunch of stuff that spans off of that. I was like, really? But my favorite thing was that the fact that the one store where I picked up your original Dark Hawk charged me additional $1 for your variant cover. And you weren't happy about that, were you, sir?
I had let it go.
Did you?
Backstory. So I was looking for this. There's a comic book store near Tony's work. He went in there and got it. The cover price on the book is $4.99. It was a variant. The guy charges an extra $1 for a variant for zero reason. This was a brand new book. It's still worth $4.99 because I checked on eBay. It's like, has the price of this gone up? It is not. I can buy it all day long for $5 anywhere across the country. But this guy decides, nope, I'm going to charge an extra $1. Oh, and also the 10-cent bag and the 15-cent board that I bag and board it with, I'm going to charge you an extra, what was it?
$1.50.
$1.50 for him to slide a book into a bag. And then, didn't you say it's not even an option not to have it bagged and boarded?
Nope, no options.
So you're going to walk out of there paying $8 for a book that should be $5 plus another 50 cents to $1 for the bag and board. I was livid. If you had told me that, I would say, put the book down, turn around, and walk out the door and tell him to kiss your butt on the way out.
I had no clue. I was like, oh, well, maybe that's how variants are. Because when I was at Doc's, I saw some of the Berserker comic that I was able to pick up for you. Mm-hmm. Those were already up around $20 on the variants.
Ching.
I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And so we were talking some more, and I will move quickly over to the games, but he was telling me about, and I hadn't realized this, that a lot of the comics in there, he was like, yeah, they're going to be like short runs. Like he said, here's Spider-Man that's going to be 4 or 6 chapters. I can't remember what he said, but he was like, it's only going to be 4 or 6 books, but it's about what if Peter Parker had not given up the black costume, and what would have happened? How would he have transformed into Venom?
Oh, that's cool. But it's not a what if story?
Yeah, it is. It's a what if story.
Okay.
It's a what if story. And I was like, okay, that's nice. He only had like the first one and the second one there. And I'm like, that's okay, but I don't want to spend the money to, just read 6. If I'm going to do this, I just want one more comic. So that's why I went back to Amazing.
That's very cool. You have to let me know how that goes. So I've kind of gotten to the point to where I can wait for the graphic novel to come out. So for example, for Berserker, I know in the fall that a book for $15 to $20 is going to have the first 6 issues of Berserker. So I'm just going to wait for that, buy that to read it, instead of buying each individual issue.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, so that's the way I do them now. A lot of the bigger books will come out in graphic novels like that, where they put 6 to 10 issues together in one book, and basically they'll charge $15 to $25. So it's way cheaper. Of course, they're not going to have much value, right? I'm not in it for the value at that point. I bought Berserker 1 for the value. Not going to open it. Then I'm going to read the story using the graphic novel.
Okay. So you're not going to open it. Well, it's a good thing I flipped through it, creased some corners. Okay.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
I'm happy to do that.
So does this store also have games, Magic, or any board games or anything like that?
He does not do board games. He does have Magic. He sells Magic and Pokemon at face value, because that's where he is.
But you didn't have any Pokemon, did he?
No, he sells it out immediately, but he sells it to his regulars.
Good for him. I like this guy.
He's amazing.
I love this guy. And you know what? If I find a book that I want, I'll put it on the pull list, your pull list, and I'll just pay you for it, and I'll pick up stuff from him.
No, he hosts birthday parties there in the back. He does in the back. He has a whole bunch of video consoles where the kids can come in and play
that's cool. PlayStation
4 or Xbox S or 1, whatever the new, I don't know. But he's got it all set up. And because when I was in there getting these comics, a lady came in with her young son, and they were going to have a video game event there. And he has it all set up for them. They don't have to worry about the various titles or the controllers and for the mom, she brought a Nothing Bundt cake with her. I thought of Vanessa when they walked in, a full Nothing Bundt cake, one of her favorites. And I was like, man, he's got it going on. And I have talked to him about hosting game night, and maybe not this year, but another following year. And he said he would be interested in that. And I said, okay, well, we'll think about that. He says, but he doesn't have the space. But I'm like, well, maybe we can just like say at this period, but he's open short hours. So real nice guy. I'm really excited about that.
Awesome. And speaking of game nights, you and I get to play a lot of games in between the ones that we're playing, whether it be with our families, with each other. Sometimes you and I also play like filler games that we don't talk at length on the show, which is why we're going to do some of the games we've played over the past couple of weeks. Let's do some quick hits. A few weeks ago, you and I got to play the new expansion to Fantasy Realms, which is called Cursed Hordes. Now, had you played Fantasy Realms before we played with the expansion?
No, never have.
Tony will say, hey, these rules are easy, guys. I mean, come on, we're getting ready to play this. What was the game?
Excavation Earth.
Excavation Earth. Easy rules, and it like blew my mind. Literally, if he said easy rules for this one, he's being honest. Yeah. Pick up a card, you play a card. It is honestly that simple. And the whole goal is to have 7 cards in your hand at the end of the game that you can combine together to get the most points possible. And a lot of the cards work with others. It's like, hey, for this beast you have, you get plus 5 points. So then obviously, if you pick up a card that happens to be a beast, you're going to keep that one and discard something else. So that's how Fantasy Realms works. When you discard a card, it's out there for everybody to choose from. So a person can either pick up from a previously discarded pile, or pick one fresh up off the deck. And then in the base game, once 10 cards are lying on the table in the discard pile, that triggers the end of the game, count up your points, game over. Literally, it's that simple. But the fun is trying to put cards together that generate the most points possible.
This game's going to have to grow on me. I want to play it again and keep playing it from the standpoint because I like simple games, because simple minds, simple games. I didn't get it at first. Okay. I'll be honest. People love this game, like you said.
Yeah.
It was not clicking with me. And then after we played it a couple of times, I'm like, okay, I see how it is. But my first round, I was like, okay, nothing is going together. Nothing is making sense. I am drawing crappy cards. I don't know what's going to happen here. I know I'm not going to be able to, oh, this will cancel this, or this will cancel that, or, oh, if you put all these together, you're going to get these X number of points. Fine. But nothing was working. And I was like, well, this stinks. Then the second game we played, it was like, okay, everything came together. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I can see this.
But that's what this game is, right? I mean, you sit down with friends and you just play as you talk. You don't spend a lot of time thinking about what you're going to do, because when it gets back to you, the cards that are available to you are going to be totally different. And then you kind of think about, well, now I can pair these couple cards together. And like you said, some cards will be like, if I keep this card with this card, it's going to generate negative points for me, so I want to get rid of it. So Fantasy Round's been around for years, very popular. They're coming out with an expansion in May called Cursed Horde, which adds new cards to the base deck, plus a brand new set of cards called Cursed Cards. So everybody is dealt a Cursed card, and at any time on your turn, you can use this card, and it's usually used to affect somebody else, mess somebody else up, etc. You can choose to get rid of a cursed card, draw a new one, maybe you don't want it. But if you use the card, then you have to flip it down. And at the end of the game, you have to add it into your scoring, and typically cursed cards are negative points. So while you can potentially mess somebody else up, be forewarned that you may be taking some negative points at the end of the game because you use that card. This new mechanic adds a little bit of take that, even more player interaction, which I think people are going to dig.
I want to play this again. Bring it to the game night. I want to see how it is with 2-player.
Okay. I mean, small box. So you throw it in your pocket, literally, and you can carry it around with you. So that is Fantasy Realms and Cursed Horde out now. So if you liked Fantasy Realms, you got to check this out. The Cursed cards add this whole new mechanic that just changes the game and really does a lot of take that.
So I'm going on vacation soon, and one of the games... Well, okay, so more backstory. So Marty and I were contacted and said, hey, would you like to possibly look at the new expansion for Bohnanza?
Exactly. People are like, what was that?
That was the MeTV Bohnanza theme, by the way. If you go to MeTV,
the MeTV, it's just Bohnanza theme. It doesn't.
But everybody can see it on MeTV. Put up the rabbit ears, get your MeTV, and you'll be able to see it. Oh, see, now you're going to make me squirrel. So the other night I was looking for MeTV because on Perry Mason was this young actor. Right. His name was, and I wanted to see it, but I couldn't find it on regular network TV because MeTV wasn't on there, but it was Burt Reynolds. I'm like, Burt Reynolds? Get out of town. So everybody, Smokey and the Bandit, go look at it. Anyway, so Bohnanza by Mr. Rosenberg came out in 1997. And
I didn't realize Rosenberg did that game.
Yes.
No clue. I did not know that.
And they said, would you like to do the expansion? And Marty and I wrote back and said, we would love to, but there's a problem with this. We don't have the base. And I'm like, you know what? I do have Bohnanza Dual, but I really need regular Bohnanza because I'm going away on vacation with my mom, who's 80 years old, will be 80 years old, my aunt and uncle, who are also up there in their late 70s. And I'm like, this game would probably work for them. The Bean game. Why not? It's simply a game of trading and politics. That's all it is. And I was like, okay, so I played it with them recently. I went up to see my mom and they were there. And so I said, okay, I want to see if it's worth me bringing to the beach.
So wait a minute. You said you didn't have a copy. Where'd you get a copy from?
From Miniature Market. That's miniaturemarket.com, where you can get all things board gaming related. Be sure to check out miniaturemarket.com, where, matter of fact, you can pick it up for $14.49 only at miniaturemarket.com. Amazon.com has it for $17.26. You're saving money by going to miniaturemarket.com. Also, if you want to, you can pick up their new card holders that can carry your Bohnanza game with you. Now, you can take that snippet and we'll put that back in for the commercial. All right. So I put it out there and I was telling them the rules, and I did mess up one rule. Imagine that. When you're trying, you know how you're trying to learn a game real quick and get it on the table?
No, I have no clue what that's like.
Longest road thing. And I was just like, that Bohnanza. So you're going to do this, you're going to do that, play a card, and then there's going to be a time when you're going
to do that again. Oh, it's simple. Just play a card.
You're going to play a part. You're going to plant a bean. Plant a bean. You can plant another bean. That's all the beans you can plant. Flip over 2 cards. Those beans you got to plant, or you can trade them away. And that's where the trading and the politics get into. So I think of it as a more easy game, less stressful game than Pit, which my wife loves. And I said, do y'all understand what we're doing here? At first, they didn't get it. Then a little bit later, they started getting it. They thought it was a very cute game, and they would enjoy playing it again. But I can tell this is one of those games where the trading and politics are not going to be part of this. Because my aunt was like, sure, I'll give you that. Well, what do you want for it? Oh, nothing. No, Aunt Evelyn, that's not how. You're trying to get the most gold. Yeah, but I want you to be. No, we're not being nice here. We got to play the game. Play the game to win. I don't know if I can do that. I said, you can do it when you play games like Hand and Foot, those kind of games. Yeah, or 5 Crowns. Yeah. But I'm like, okay, so you got to take it up a notch. But it was fun. So I'm glad we finally got a copy.
Is it mean?
It can be. Because if 2 cards flip over and you can't use them because it will ruin your field, you still have to plant them, and you would have to harvest your field. And if you don't have enough beans, then you don't get any gold.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so everybody around the table can look at it and see that that's going to do you no good, and it's going to screw up your fields. Therefore, everybody can say, well, I don't need it. You have to take them.
Gotcha.
So that's the mean part, where everybody can team up on one another.
Every once in a while, we'll get like a game out of the blue that didn't know about. And one game that's been sent out by Mondo Games is a game called Gentle Rain.
Gentle Rain. Gentle Rain. Oh, that's Purple Rain. Never mind.
Good, though. Nice. I like what you did there. So again, look at this. This is a little small box solo game. Mm-hmm. See how tiny the box is? It's probably about, a 2x2 on the square and about 4 inches long. And the box just comes with a bunch of tiles and 8 little flower pieces, little round tokens. And the goal is like, this is just supposed to be a simple solo game that you just play, just kind of take your mind off things. The rules say like put on soft music and stuff. So you shuffle these tiles, and each one of these tiles on the edge has half of a flower. And what your goal is to draw a tile and then put it down to an existing tile so that the sides match and create that full flower. So you create a full orange one, a black one, purple one, etc. The goal of the game is to get tiles on all 4 sides of a tile. At that point, you're going to take one of those tokens that I talked about. There's one for each color of flower. And you're going to pick one of the flowers that was completed in that tile and put it on top of this one. There's only one of each. So like once you use a yellow, then obviously you can't use that one again. The goal is to continue to put tiles out on the board until you can place all your 8 flower tokens on a tile, and then you win the game. And then your score is based on how many tiles you have left. The more tiles you have left, the quicker you got rid of your tokens, the better that you did. If you run out of tiles and still have little flower tokens left, you lose. Now, this was supposed to be a simple, kind of like no-brainer, just kind of piddling and stuff. No, there's a lot of thought into this, because as you play, even though it's a very small box, the tiles can take up a lot of room on the table, and you're trying to look around to find the best place to place the tile and hopefully try to find one where you can complete tiles around an existing tile in order to place one of your petals. And then you look at the 4 flowers, it's like, oh, great. If I encompass this one, I've already placed all those 4 particular flowers on other tiles So it do me no good to put it right there. So then you continue looking. So it is a sweet, cute little solo game. And it's one of those that if you have an office or desk or something, just you can leave it on your desk because it's so small. Now, you do need room to put out the tiles. So you have to move your keyboard out of the way because it can be a little bit of a table hog. But this was kind of out of nowhere from Mondo Games. So if you're looking for a fun, light, 15-minute solo game, Gentle Rain by Mondo.
Only other thing I got to the table, Marty, without you, was Don and I did play some Seven Wonders Duel again. I need to get the expansion out for that, and we did play Carcassonne, and it was one of those where tiles were being pulled, and I was the one getting all the lucky tiles. Slowly but surely, I'll bring her into the expansions. I'm trying, but I will eventually get there. But something that we played for the title of the show, Rocketmen, a Martin Wallace game from Phalanx. Phalanx. It's a deck builder.
It is. And it's a Martin Wallace game that we were super excited to play. So we couldn't wait to see his take on a deck building game. And it starts out like any typical deck building game, right? Everybody has the same set of cards. And the goal of the game, build a rocket in order to launch it to either to Earth, to the moon, or to the Mars. To the Mars. Wow. To Mars, which is the furthest away. And as you get to each of these locations, it can give you some victory points. Obviously, the whole goal, earn victory points, and the game is triggered typically when somebody reaches a certain victory point level based on the number of players, or they get all their tokens out on the board.
There you go. And of course, there are some other, there's hidden objectives that'll score you some victory points. From a deck builder perspective, one of the unique things about this is you have on your board, you have the left side, right side, where you are building for a mission. You're going to take a mission, and it's going to either take you to the Earth, to the moon, or to the Mars, and you're trying to build the rocket. You're being Mr. Musk. It's now your turn to do that, and you're trying to put forth
SpaceX.
And you're trying to get that to happen. But on the right side, it's like your typical deck builder. You're either going to play to the left or to the right. So to the right, it gives you the ability to earn credits or do actions on cards that will then let you buy from the pool. Cards that will let you have, oh, by the way, if you do this, if you use this card, then you get a bonus of discarding a bad card, or you discard this card, you can now pick up one for free. It's just your typical deck builder action type cards. That's all there is. But to me, Marty, about this game, the unique part of this was part of the deck culling in any deck builder was building the mission. And how well you do on the mission is dependent on if you have a certain component that will help you reach the area where you're going. But before you can even go on that mission, you've got to have X amount of rockets. So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to reach a certain mission level, and then you are ready for liftoff. I've got the number of rockets I need. I've got the technology that kind of helps me get there. And then we're going to get to your favorite part of the game, he says sarcastically.
Push your luck. So like you said, Tony, you got a mission. You try to get as many components as you can to help you on this mission. It's like, okay, I'm going to go to the moon. I need X number of rockets to get to the moon. I am ready to go. So on your turn, it's like after you do all your deck playing, you play cards. They have resources on them. You buy new cards, add your deck, etc. At the end, it's like, gentlemen, I'm going to attempt this mission. Do you meet the requirements to go? Yes, I do. So let's go ahead and go. So all these components have added to the left side of the board. Each one of the places, Earth, the moon, Mars, has a certain icon that says, all right, when you're going here, let's say it's to the moon, count up the number of icons that are required to get there or can help you get there. And your ship, there's actually a little token that starts on track 0 of a little path. And if I'm going to the moon, I count the number of icons I need to give me a little extra boost. And I start my ship that many spaces closer to the moon. Then there is a shuffled deck of cards in the middle of the table that has numbers ranging from 0 to 4. And depending on which location you go to, you're going to flip over an X number of cards. It says you need to get here within this number of cards to succeed. But at any time along the way, you can go, nope, I don't think I'm going to make it. I'm out. And it's like, okay, what you do is for every card that you've drawn so far, You're going to subtract 1 from that, and you have to discard a component from your left side of the board. You decided to abort the mission. Well, it's going to cost you a little bit for trying, but you don't lose everything. So, okay, I thought this is easy. I'm launching. Let's jump a couple spaces. Let's start flipping over cards. Now, there are 22 cards in this deck, Tony. Again, ranging from 0 to 4. There are only 2 zeros. Let me say that again. There are only 2 zeros in this deck. And you're only flipping over just 3 to 5 cards, something like that, depending on where you're going. 3 times in a row. Not 1, not 2, not 3. Well, no, 3. Skip 3, go directly to 4. Thou shalt not count to 3. I started going, and it's like, okay, gets me 1 step. This gets me 2 steps, and I'm sitting there. Oh man, I'm within just 1 away. I'm 1 away. Yes, I'm going to push my luck and flip that next card. 0.
And if you fail, what happens? If you fail the mission, what happens? All the cards are gone.
Yep. So I could have aborted, taken a little bit of a hit, but if you fail, but guess what? They all go back into your deck. You get to rebuild that whole thing again. 3 times in a row, the last card or next to last card, I flip a 0. Meanwhile, Bert and Tony, they're flying all over space. They're like, oh, the moon, Mars, awesome. Look, I'm going to get here. And because of the mission that I used, I get to Mars. And because of this particular mission, I get to enhance my board, which gives me a boost on rockets, or it gives me a boost on some money that I can spend on my turn. It's basically these little advancements, these technical advancements that help you. And I'm sitting there still trying to get to the Earth, which is the first location, while you guys are flying off to Moon and Mars. Push your luck games, destroy me every single time.
You're on Earth. You're just trying to freaking get in orbit. That's all you're trying to do. And you can't even get in orbit.
Well, we couldn't figure that out. The first location is to get to Earth. I guess we're not starting on Earth? I don't understand.
No, you're starting on Earth. You're just trying to think of it like the space race. The first thing we have to do.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
You got to orbit, then you got to make it to the moon, and then after the moon, then comes Mars. But we've always sent satellites out to Uranus.
And y'all were just laughing. It's like, okay, I'm going to do it. 0 is like, bah!
I'm not really sure what the strategy is. You know, I was like, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I know that my special objective card says I have to be the first to get to the moon. And with this token, with this, like getting a satellite around the moon, I have to be first there, or my objective card is useless to me.
So what you mean is these are the tokens that you get deployed out onto the board. And a mission will tell you, here's the type of mission that you're trying to achieve. And you're talking about the particular one yours was a satellite token that need to get placed on the board.
And I have to be the first in the space race. I have to be the first to put the satellite around the moon.
Yeah. And you actually, if you're the first one to put a token, you usually get extra victory points if you're the first one to put that particular token at a location.
So I don't want to lose that objective. I need that objective. So I'm going to go for that first. That was a big mistake. I should not have done that because I should have been building up my player board to help me get to the next one. And then on your side of the board, you're sitting there and you're like, oh my gosh, all you guys have gone where I needed to go.
Yep.
That is one thing I found. In this game, you have to be successful to be able to enhance your board so that you don't have to worry about getting certain rockets, because without the rockets, you can't lift off. And there's only a set number of additional rocket cards that anybody can buy from, but you can only buy once per turn. And then also, I was amazed at the cost of some of these cards. I'm like, good gosh, I'm not coming anywhere near that on the number of cards I was drawing. So I need to enhance. I need to get a benefactor of the additional money. So which token do I need to enhance my board with? A lot of hard decisions here, but because I chose poorly at the beginning, that I was trying to build up to get to the moon so I could be first, my space race got way behind. I was way behind. Bert was just firing off these things, which he was smart. He picked up on that real quick, and kudos to him for playing the game correctly. I did not. I played it very poorly.
Yeah, I think that if people want to try this game out, and look, if you like clever deck building games, this is very clever. I like the way that part of the calling mechanism is actually selecting a certain mission and rockets and trying to achieve them. And once you do, those cards are gone. And then again, it's kind of a way to strengthen your deck, because maybe in your deck is now nothing but like really good resource cards for buying the best thing. So if you like the sound of that, that is really cool. But here's a tip. Do not attempt missions too early in the game. I think you need to collect the right components to try to get you that advancement for whatever location you want to go to. Because like I said, first thing you're going to do is look at all the cards on the left-hand side when you decide to use a mission. Depending on which ones you use, you get like a little bit of a head start before you start doing the push your luck part of the game. And that's where I think I failed, is that I tried to start a mission too soon.
But if you don't, then you're not going to be able to enhance your board, because you have to pay for every card you place, and some cards pay for themselves. Other times you have to discard cards to be able to pay to enhance your mission. I paid 10 to be able to add this computer component to my rocket. There's some risk in there, so there's your risk reward. So yeah, it's the push your luck is going to get you. If you don't take the necessary precautions at the beginning of the mission of being added to it. And I don't know if I can then later call out those computer cards, because I don't need the computer cards anymore. They're not going to help me get to the moon or to Mars. I don't need those, but hopefully they're dual purpose enough where I can use their calls to help me pay for, and now I've built my deck up. This game, it was frustrating to me, but I did enjoy the deck building mechanisms of it. I love the action board. I love either side. So from my standpoint, now that I've thought about it, I'd like to give it another shot and see if, okay, I'm going to try this strategy or I'm going to do this. But that concerns me also, is that anytime I'm like, this strategy is the only strategy I need, then does that become prescriptive? I don't know. I've been reading the BGG comments. The comments really don't say that. First impressions, I need to keep trying this to see if it'll grow me, because I love deck builders, absolutely do. And I know that this play was pathetic on my part, not on the game, on me.
Yeah, and you typically like space-themed games, so it's kind of like, and we like Martin Wallace. We both like Martin Wallace games, so that's why we're excited to try it out and do a quick hit on it, because it's like, okay, that's kind of our first impressions. Now let's really dig into it, like you have to do with most Martin Wallace games, and just see, how we can get better, like in his other games like Brass, etc.
Exactly. Wildlands. I mean, Wildlands has expansions coming out. So I'm excited to try it again. But that is Rocketmen from Phalanx Games.
Hey, did you see that this is the 10th anniversary of Lord of the Rings CCG this year? FFG did like a Facebook live event on Thursday, and people were excited. Does this mean second edition's coming? No, it wasn't. It was just basically the old developers getting together and talking about the history of the game. But, that was the first cooperative LCG card game that we ever played, and it has great memories for me. I don't know that I'll ever revisit it again. I would be curious to see if they ever do a second edition. I don't know, with the success of Arkham Horror and Marvel, that they need to right now, because those are so hot. I think it's just really cool. I can't believe it's been 10 years since that game came out.
I can't either. I still have a box of them. I've only played a few of the missions. I would love to revisit it, especially single player. You said I like space. Lord of the Rings is one of the games I always enjoy playing. So, but it is one that has been sitting underneath the old bed in a box, just sitting there.
And by the way, I've got all the Saga expansions unopened. It's on my bucket list. So at some point in time, sit and play through the entire Lord of the Rings Saga expansion.
Probably for me, I need to see which ones I'm missing and pick those up. I need to pick up all the sagas before you cannot get them.
They're getting tough. I'm short one or two, and the last time I checked, it was on Amazon. It's a bunch of quick hits. Tony and I have gotten to the table recently.
Just want to give a big thank you to everyone who voted for Rolling Dice and Taking Names on the BGG Golden Geek Awards. Unfortunately, we didn't make it, but that's okay. What that tells me, Marty,
is that we suck and nobody likes us. That's what it tells me.
If you want to have a pity party, you can have a pity party all by yourself. I don't do pity parties, and I don't go to them. I'm surprised I'm still married, because I told my wife that once. I said, I don't do pity parties.
You don't. It was funny. Tony is not about a pity person. He's like, whatever. And it's a great attitude. It's an amazing attitude, and it's the way everybody should look at things, especially with social media today, where victim pays. And Tony's like, nope, no victim here. Life, let's move on, baby.
Move on. I mean, come on. Life is good. Just treat everybody with kindness. And it's amazing how far it will go. With that in mind, though, what this tells me is we've rested on our laurels for the past 6 years. We need to take it up a notch. Absolutely. So 2022, so we can get back in that ranking, we need to accelerate. We need to make this happen. So we've got to figure it out. We've got to restructure. We need, what are all the buzzwords? We need to be agile. We need to pivot. Pivot? I don't know, whatever all the business words are. We need to be ISO 9042 or whatever we're up to. We're going to get there, man. Next year, we're going to push it again. We're going to be pushing it. But thank you all for those who voted for us. If you were like, oh, those guys, they got their shoe in. Well, guess what? Nope, we didn't. We need to be there. But for all of our listeners, thank you for hanging with us. This is year 9. Year 9. Can you believe that?
At the end of this year will be our 9th year.
Exactly. So we're in 8 point whatever we are. So
exactly. 8.5.
8.5. I know I was looking at my gallery on my on Google Photos, and it was funny. There was a picture of City of Heroes character Sun Poison. And then
nice. I remember Sun Poison.
And then there was the Rolling Dice and Taking Names logo. And
the original one.
The original. I was like, wow, that's old. That's old stuff. So anyway, Marty, we need to take it up a notch. And you know the way we take it up a notch?
No, how?
We suck up to our sponsors.
Tony, you just mentioned in the previous segment that Miniature Market now has card carrying cases that are branded with their own logo and everything. We got some of those to check out. And in fact, if you go and look at our YouTube channel, I've done a preview of each of the card carrying cases so that you can see them and some of their features and everything. These are amazing cases. There's 3 different ones. There's the long case, which holds 650 plus double-sleeved cards. There's the square case that holds the same amount of cards, and then a small one, which holds 250 double-sleeved cards. Now, that means if you're just holding single-sleeved or no-sleeved at all, it will hold way more cards than that. But Tony, these are super nice products, and the unbelievable thing is the 2 bigger cases, only $11.99 each. And the small case is only $7.99. What a bargain.
I don't know how the man does it. It is amazing. I mean, how they are able to put out that. I got the small case, and I'm going to not use it. Well, I'll use it for some cards, but I'm really going to stack it full of stuff I need for board game night. I need readers, because Marty's tired of me turning on the light on my phone so I can read cards, and we'll talk about that. And then I need pencils now, and I need some dice, and I'm sure I need something else in that. There's a whole list over at our BGG Guild. So there we go. Pocket knife, so we can get in those stupid cards. Absolutely. And I was really excited for everybody has those little dice trays that can fold up on the corners. Mm-hmm. That one that they sent I like the size of it. It's not too small. Big size.
And it's deep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one thing I was really impressed about. And that's only like $1.99. It's dirt cheap.
And it serves as a cool mouse pad.
And there's a big old dice bag, a new big dice bag too, which is, I'm playing Ashes at work. Perfect for holding all the Ashes dice in. So to check those out, make sure to head over to their website. We'll put a link to those in the description of this episode, and make sure to check out our YouTube channel where I've done a preview of each of the products. That's it, miniaturemarket.com. One of my favorite games from last year was Raiders of Scythia, which is a worker placement game from Shem Phillips that had kind of Raiders of the North Sea type feel to it, but it has some tweaks to it, some new art and everything, had a kind of a Roman feel. Going down that same path, we now have a game from Renegade Games called Hadrian's Wall. This game is designed by Bobby Hill, but it's developed by Shem Phillips. Tony, this is not a worker placement game. No, it's not a worker placement game. There are workers in it, but this is a flip and write, not a roll and write, because there's no dice involved, but this is a flip and write where you're going to flip cards and have a couple pieces of paper that you're going to write and take some notes on and activate things, etc. Much like the game Welcome to, which Tony, I believe you are a fan of.
I am very much a fan of. I enjoy Welcome To. So when you told me about this, I was like, okay, all right, I can easily handle a flip and write.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be able to quickly understand the concepts. Shoot, I've played Fleet, the dice game. That sheet is a little bit complicated. I'll be able to handle this. I walk in there, and Marty's got these 2 sheets laying on the table, and I'm like, what the frick is this? First off, I needed it on an 11 by 17. That's when I looked at Marty and said, okay, I know you're tired of me complaining about font sizes, but okay, I will get some readers. So I've got to order my readers. I need to do that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's boxes all over this place. If all you're going to do is flip a card and I got to mark something, how's it all going to be put together? An hour later, after he talked me through it, no, I'm just kidding. It was about 10, 15 minutes of discussion?
It was about 10, 15 minutes. You have 2 pieces of paper, not one, that you must manage over the course of the game. And one side of the paper, the theme is this. So you're trying to build up a wall, build up a defense in order to protect against oncoming Pict attacks over the course of 6 years. And during that time, not only are you building your wall, but you have citizens that you can develop in order to make buildings of different types, in order to generate resources, and those resources can be used to do different things. It has very much of a Euro feel. And I'll say this right now, this is a heavy roll and write. This is not Quicks, Tony. Is that one of your favorite roll and writes?
It's one of Donna's, yes.
It is not that at all. It is on the other end of the extreme. And in fact, when it comes to rolling rights, flipping rights, I would consider this heavy.
Yes, very much heavy. And it's not a simple use of just flip a card, mark something. No, it's way past that, because what you're having to do is the card that flip, the first card tells you this is how many resources or people you get. And then you have to flip 2 cards and decide which one you want to keep and which one will be a scoring card later or at the end of the game. And those will tell you resources.
Just to kind of clarify, that first card you flip is kind of in the center of the table. Mm-hmm. Everybody utilizes it. Then everybody has their own deck of cards that they shuffle at the beginning. They're all the same, but they're all shuffled, so they come up in different order. That's the ones you draw 2 from. Play 1. Keep 1.
You've got soldiers, I'm not even going to try to go over it.
I've got it right here. Soldiers, builders, servants, and civilians.
Okay. You've got black meeples, blue meeples, purple meeples, yellow meeples, and you got some gray cubes.
Well, yeah, eventually we were going, okay, 2 purple, 1 black. We couldn't remember the names of them. I do remember the black meeples were soldiers, though, because they had to be used to help with the wall and build up the wall defense.
So these sheets have various sections. First off, you have your wall and your fortifications of your wall, and that's generally where you will find people needing to be used to go out and develop it. And there are certain tracks that you have to do. You're progressing left to right. And then down below that are various, I don't want to say victory, but they are various tracks that you earn for accomplishing various feats.
Attribute tracks.
Look at that. And then this is Marty's favorite thing to do now when teaching the games. Then you have this down here, but we're going to ignore it till later. Okay.
But did it not work?
It did.
Did that testing method not work when I would say, hold on, we'll come back to this in a second, because it would be a symbol or emblem that wouldn't make sense until I explain something over here. And in typical roll and write fashion or flip and write fashion, you're filling things from left to right. And this is where I think the brilliance of the pages and the way it's laid out makes sense. When you first see it, to me, it was super intimidating. It's like, I'll never learn this. But once you understand that each place on the sheet to the left has a cost, and then it points to something to the right, and it's like, if you want to fill in a box to the right of this is the cost that it requires. Mm-hmm. And then you fill in the box from left to right. If you cover up a meeple or a resource, immediately collect that, and then you can use it on that turn. And that's really how every section of these 2 sheets work. The thing is what order do you want to do it? Because the cost, like for using a particular meeple or something, can be used at several places on the board. For example, wow, that's good. For example, the civilians, the yellow workers, can be used on any of the tracks on the right side of the board in order to help towards building any of those buildings. The question is which building do you want to build? Do you want to work on your piety level? So you want to build temples instead? Maybe I want to build out the market, so I need to fill in that track. So you got to decide where to use the resources that you have, which then might could cover up something else that lets you use that to get something else over here that you need. So it becomes a big combo fest as the game goes on.
Absolutely. That's what it was. It was a combo. I did not have the resources at the beginning of the phase. How can I generate the ones that I need that will help me accomplish? And I like from the theme perspective of it is the sheet on the right, your civilians are helping you build your city. The city you are protecting. You're developing gardens and altars and markets and all this other stuff that while it is just a flip in right, and there's not a whole lot of theme there. It's kind of like, oh, I see how this all works. Also, what you try to do on the right may be dictated by the various scoring cards you've chosen. You've got to keep that. And these scoring cards are building over what we play for 5 rounds or 6 rounds?
6 years.
Six rounds.
6 rounds considered each year, yes.
So you're constantly building that up as to how you score. So by the 6th round or 6th year, that card, if you haven't really done anything, it may be useless to you, but that's okay. That's just the way it goes. So maybe you need to use the resources. Once you've done all your resources and you've spent everything, then unfortunately you've put a nice city, nice walls. It's time to get attacked.
And this has the after the empire feel to it because at the beginning, the first year, very simple. That card deck that's in the middle of the table is where you'll find out the picks are attacking from, depending on what year that you're playing and what difficulty. I love this too. There's an easium, a medium, an easium.
Well, no wonder.
Holy cow.
No wonder we're a top tier podcast. God.
It's between easy and medium. It's easium.
There you go.
Wow. And if you're between medium and hard, it's marred. Okay. I'm going to use those from now on. Easium and marred.
You can find that probably over at Redbubble in the coming months as we get that one designed. Be sure to go check out Redbubble. Emily has all of the rolling dice and taking names sportswear that you need, especially the new shirt about I discovered the grumpy variant. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
Now, actually, I need to order our shirts for that because we need ours. So there's an easy, medium, and hard level. And depending on which one that you play, you'll pick at the beginning of the game which one you're going to do is how many cards you're going to flip off that center deck. So we played the easy for our first game. You flip over one card. And at the top, it'll tell you, is the attack coming from the left, the right, or straight ahead? Now, on your wall, you have 3 cohorts, left, straight ahead, and to the right. And as you fill in blocks on those cohorts, those will block attacks from the picks. So let's say the attack is coming from straight ahead and you've only flipped over one card. So you just need to have one block filled in on your cohort. If you do, congratulations, you succeeded. You get a bonus. You get a certain number of valor, and depending on the number of cards you drew, how much valor that you're going to get. Valor is one of the victory point scoring tracks at the bottom of the page. So that's one of the things that you get to fill in. Now, over the course of the years, more cards will be drawn, and you may have multiple coming from one direction. And if you don't have enough blocks filled in, the picks get through and will create what's called disdain at the bottom of your scoring track, and you circle when you take disdain, and at the end of the game, for every circle that you have is going to be negative victory points. But Tony, there are ways in the game that you can help with that because you have a whole diplomat track on the right-hand side to where it's like, okay, I'm not going to worry about a strong defense. I'm going to build up my diplomats because diplomats can also help with attacks. Or there's a way to go back and those circles that you circled of disdain, you can fill them in. If you build the right buildings and get the right symbols, you can fill in those circles. Those negate the disdain. So if a pick attack gets through, there are ways to mitigate that damage just by building the right thing.
With that in mind, You've got to figure out what tracks am I going for, how am I going to get my victory points, and how to adjust as needed. So a lot of options here. And a lot of that is dependent on the resources or the workers you get at the very beginning. So you've got to think, how can I combo it? Where am I doing that? So overall, Marty, for me, this game was a joy to play. I like the challenge of it. And it was one of those games where basically, even though it can play 1 to 6, and you've pointed this out, I'm playing by myself.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of player interaction. Is that I can't screw you up, right, Tony? There's really nothing I can do to mess you up. But now you do use the cards that the person to the left and right of you drew potentially, because there's a concept called a market. And each of the cards that the players choose to use, remember I said you choose one as a score and the other you put out. It also gives you a couple of resources that you get, but it has these market values ranging from 1 to 6. And your goal is to fill in on a square on the market to get one of each of the values 1 through 6. So I can use mine. I can use the player to my left or the player to my right in order to achieve that. That's where you can use the other players. And by the way, if you play solo or with just somebody else, you deal out extra cards to cover those extra players is how that works. Or there's also this concept at the bottom right hand of the page. There's like a little 4 square shape, like a little Tetris type shape that you can try to fill in a grid on the bottom of the page. You can use yours. You can use the person to the left or the person to the right to take advantage to fill in that shape on the bottom. That's one of the actions you can take. And by filling in that section on the bottom, that grid, you might cover things that give you maybe additional worker, maybe additional resources, etc. And one of the achievements, or a couple of the achievements, have to do with that. It's like for every completed row you have, you get a couple points, etc. So everything on page typically can be used for in-game scoring in some sort of way. So like many of these games, you can't do everything. You have to pick which tracks you want to work on, because you have to get up certain levels on each of the 4 tracks to be able to build landmarks, which are huge. Landmarks give you a bunch of advantages, but you have to have a certain value on each of those attribute tracks in order to even be able to do those. So you can't go up all 4 tracks probably. You'll pick 2, maybe 3 to excel on so that you can really get good at those. I brought up all that play interaction. It's not really there. You do take advantage of other people's cards, but for an hour, you're literally going to get a bunch of stuff on your board and then not talk to each other for 3 or 4 minutes as you decide what you're going to do. You hope you did everything right. You hope everybody else played their stuff correctly. And then when you're all done, the attack hits from the picks and you all resolve that together.
Yep. Enjoyed the game. This is not one of those games. Don and I love playing Flipping Rights, but I think this is not one that, even in a 2-player arena, I'm not looking forward to getting back to the table, but I would love to try it with a bunch of us just to see how well we do.
I want to play again. Yes. Yeah. I am not a fan of flipping right games, rolling right games, but this had the meat that I was looking for. I felt that it was very Euro-y. Yes, it is somewhat solitaire, and I get that there's not a lot of interaction, but it is so clever. And once I understood how to read the page, I saw the brilliance of it. It went from being intimidating, I don't understand this, to after 2 or 3 rounds, it's like, no, I get this. I totally can look exactly on the page where I need to do things and get things done, and it just clicked. Big fan. Hadrian's Wall, Renegade Games, out right now. If you're looking for a heavy, not a Mard, but a heavy flipping right, this is the one you want to check out.
Hey, Marty.
Yes.
Remember that time we celebrated our 28th wedding anniversary and we went to a little town of Southern Pines?
I do.
And you remember when we played a little game in the coffee shop before we came home?
Yes, I do.
And do you remember how it made me so mad?
I do remember that too.
I want to tell the listeners about that game because now I'm not so mad anymore after 3 plays.
And we're talking about the game.
The game.
That's the name of the game. The game, face to face.
And that's what we were.
Head to head, face to face.
Right in that coffee shop, face to face. And for 3/4 of the game, I was like, I am so upset at you for making me play this because I don't understand it. I don't know what they want me to do. I don't know how to play this game. And then the last quarter of the game, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. But why don't you tell a little bit about the very simple mechanics of this game?
Yeah, so this is actually based on a previous game called The Game, which is played with multiple players, where the goal is to lay down your cards in ascending and descending piles. But this is a 2-player version of that game, and it is head-to-head. It's from designers Stefan Binford and Reinhard Staup, and is published by Pandasaurus Games. Now, this game's quick to learn, only takes 20 minutes to play. Each of you have a deck of cards. Each deck ranges from 2 to 59. And the goal of the game is you're going to each of us draw 6 cards, and on your turn, you must discard at least 2 cards.
Very simple. I could not wrap my brain around it. So there's actually cards, a number 1 card and a 60 card.
Yes.
So you put those cards out. Did you say this already?
No, but
Okay.
There's a card that has 1 to 60 going up and a card 60 to 1 going down. And you have 2 piles, an ascending pile and a descending pile.
Yes. And I was going to say that, but you looked at me funny, and that's why I said, did you say that?
No.
I wish y'all could. I'm telling him all the time, listeners, why are you looking at me that way? You're looking at me funny. All the time. Be glad that this is a podcast and not a video.
It's okay.
Right?
That's fair. That's fair. I do not have a face for video, so I barely have a voice for a podcast.
Okay, we got to talk about this game.
All right.
So we played at a coffee shop the first time.
Yes.
Did you say this already? That we are working on our own decks. We want to go from 1 to 60, want to ascend 1 pile, and 60 down to 100. We want to descend the other pile. Mm-hmm. On your turn, you have to play 2 cards, like you said. You can play 1 card on your player's deck, but it has to help them. That is the cool part of the game. So my problem was I got stuck in that I wanted the numbers as close together as possible.
No gaps.
No gaps. I could not physically put a card down that went from 1 to like 25. I couldn't do it. And then I would get confused. So my pile's going up and down and yours going up and down. And I was constantly, do I want it higher on this pile for you or lower on this pile? And it wasn't until like we were almost finished with the game that I finally got it. It doesn't matter. Just get rid of cards because you win by being the first player to get rid of all your cards, or
You win if the other person is in a position to where they can't play at least 2 cards.
that's it. Simple. So then my brain finally said, just get rid of cards. But I lost that game. You ran out of cards first.
Mm-hmm.
And so we left the coffee shop on our anniversary with me. We're playing that game again. But then it took about a week for us to play it the second time. So we played it a second time at a restaurant.
We like playing this game where we're getting food and stuff. It was at a Mexican restaurant celebrating your birthday weekend.
Yes, because we had a coupon. We had a coupon.
We did, yeah.
But it was for yuca fries. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And they are absolutely delicious. And I'm kind of obsessed with them right now.
Yeah, you are. But yes.
Yes. So is this a food podcast?
Yes.
All right. We got to get back to the game. So then we played it. Yeah, that was just yesterday.
Yes, it was.
And I don't know why, but I had the same problem. And the whole time I'm playing, I'm angry and I don't know why. It's because I don't like the cards that I have. And then would you say we were halfway through the deck or 3/4 through the deck and you couldn't play a card?
Right.
And it was a little bit anticlimactic. So then we were like, no, we got to play this game again. So we've learned to play this game at home, not at a restaurant or a coffee shop.
Were we eating? No, we weren't eating when we played this time. So we were just sitting there chill.
Yeah,
okay.
we were just sitting there chill. And I think I've said this before. It was like the Matrix tonight in that scene where the code's going by and he sees it all. We finally got it. We were like, okay, so we want to get rid of as many cards as we can, try to help your opponent by raising or lowering the deck, but as close to the number that they've played.
So
because
we haven't explained why you want to help your opponent. Here's why.
why don't you do that?
Here's why. Because if you only play cards on your decks, you can only draw 2 cards at the end. Regardless
Yes.
of the number of cards you've played, you only get to draw 2. But if you play 1 card on your opponent's deck, and that's the most you can play is 1, then what that allows you to do is draw your hand back up to 6 at the end. So
Right.
that's how you're able to refill your hand instead of just drawing 2 cards. But what I liked is when I first read the rules, I thought, ooh, you're going to play a card on your opponent's deck and you're going to mess them up. This is the cool part. You actually are helping them out. So, for example, let's say you are ascending from 1 to 60 and you have 20 as the card that's showing right now. So you can only play cards higher than 20. I can play a card on that deck, but it must be lower than 20. So let's say I play a 10. So what that means is, that opens up a whole nother 10 cards that you could potentially play. That's what I mean by helping them out. And you're constantly going back and forth doing that because you want to draw as many cards as you can at the end of your turn.
Right. And I just want to clarify to make sure you said that right. When you said that, that's on the opponent's deck that you could go lower. If
Yes.
it were your own, you couldn't.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's where we really had to keep thinking. It's like, I need to go higher on mine, but if I want to play it on hers, it needs to be lower than their highest card showing for the ascending deck. And because so you're kind of
Matrix Man, those cards and numbers just going. So we had a really good time playing it, but it took me that third time to get my brain going, and it really is a fun game. It goes quick. You have to think.
Yeah, you do. Because then you got to risk it. It's like, wow, okay, if I'm going from 20 up, let's say in this potential, and I got a 45, do I want to jump from 20 to 45? And that's what you got stuck on. But then you think, well, hopefully I can draw a card in my hand that can help me out, or hopefully Vanessa will eventually be forced to help me out on that particular deck so that I can play my other cards.
Right. So then I want to say, so the first game we played, we just ran out of cards. We ran out of cards. The second time we played, you got to where you couldn't play any cards, but it was pretty early on. We were only like halfway through the deck, I'd said. Yeah. But it was because you took a big risk. You like played all your cards to where you only drew 2, and then you absolutely couldn't play them. Right. So then tonight when I was thinking, get rid of as many as I can, but not all of them, because I don't want to bank on just 2 cards. But it still turned out I ran out of cards. I was down to like 3 cards, and then I couldn't play any.
Got stuck where you couldn't
So you
play.
won.
Yeah. No, it's a really fun 2-player game.
It is.
It is a perfect game. Once you kind of wrap your head around what you're looking at on the table. Now, it's funny, if I was to play with somebody else and they reordered where they place their decks on the table, I had constantly learned it's like the deck that's closer to me on your side is the one that's going up and the other one's going down.
And we had the card that with the 1 and the 60 off to the side so we could see them.
Yeah. No, it is cool. And it's
very cool.
On your turn, you literally take 10 to 15 seconds to decide what you're going to do, and it just moves that fast.
Well. Well.
But what I just love is it's not being mean to your opponent.
Oh, no.
I love that because it's like your opponent's going, please play a card on one of these decks to help me out. And you will have to.
Yeah.
You can't afford just to draw 2 cards per turn.
Yeah. And so it's called the game Face to Face. And you said it made you feel like, oh, we're going to get my opponent or whatever. I'm not competitive.
No.
And I really don't mind if I lose. I didn't want to lose tonight. And I felt like, dadgummit, I lost. So it brought that out in me.
You were so close. And
I was so close.
I had to help you out. So you really
You didn't have to help me out.
No.
What you talking about? What you talking about, Marty?
No, I was helping you out in the fact that I wanted to draw cards. I needed to play a card on your deck, but I got lucky in that you had a 2 showing on your descending deck.
Oh, yeah.
I happened to have the 3. So I barely helped you out to allow me to draw the rest of the cards, and then you were just stuck.
Well, that's the strategy of it. And that's what you had said and we talked about. We want to help, but not help too much because I would give you like huge gaps. I am excited to hear what the listeners think after they go and buy the game, because I know they are, so that they can have this experience and to hear what they say about it, because it brought out a competitiveness in me that I didn't know I had.
And the price on this is amazing. Over at Miniature Market, you can pre-order it now for just $10.99.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That is a good. I tell you, it is great for couples or couples. I know we're picking it up. I'm throwing it down. So what's that noise in the background? Very small. Box
I don't know
game.
if it's great for couples. Remember, we've been married for 28 years, so it wasn't going to make or break us.
Yeah, but again, what I like is you can't really mess somebody else up.
No.
Again,
even if it's just a little bit, you can only help them.
You're only helping them. That's what I like about the game. It's not mean at all.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing to your opponent, it's good. They're going to help them in the long run, but you got to do it. So that is the game, Face to Face. That is going to be coming out from Pandasaurus Games. I think next time we go on a trip or a little overnight excursion, this is a great game to throw in the bag.
Absolutely. And I think that if we go back to a coffee house or if we go to a restaurant, that it'll be all right. I think we can do it.
Yeah.
Now, I do have to say something, and this is off on a tangent. This is a squirrel moment.
Squirrel!
Have you told your listeners about the coffee that we had when we played the game? I didn't know if you and Tony had talked about it.
No, we did not talk about it. So why don't you tell them about this? Hey, there's just a little food tangent, a drink tangent.
I get to talk about a food tangent and not with Tony.
Yes.
Okay. So there's a candy around here called Cowtails. It doesn't sound delicious.
It does not.
But it is. And I don't know if it's just in the South. I don't know. But it is like it's a soft, chewy caramel with a vanilla center, a vanilla creamy center. Is that a good description?
That is a perfect description, actually.
Cowtail. And it comes in like a long...
Looks like a cowtail. That's why it's called that. It's a long brown confectionery.
Well, we walk into this place and the lady is so super nice. We were the only ones there, again, in Southern Pines, North Carolina, and she has a flavor, cowtail, and we went nutso. It had caramel, vanilla, and chocolate flavors in it. That's how, we don't know her combination of them. And all of those were sugar-free. So we got a totally sugar-free cowtail latte, and it was delicious.
And we bought 2 of them.
No, Marty.
Did we buy
2 apiece.
That's right. So we got there and ordered this thing, and we were playing through the game, just sucking on this drink.
That's how long it took me to decide which card to play.
And when we were done, it's like, as we were getting our stuff together, it's like, I could go for another one for the road. What about you? So we ordered another round of Cowtail cold coffee.
And it was talking about the game. If you remember, though, I'd have a card in my hand and I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
I cannot jump all those numbers. This was a fun game.
It is a fun game.
The
Again,
more we talk about it, the more I like it.
again, for pre-order right now, as you could tell, it's something that's going to stay in our collection for quite a while.
Yep. And we'll be drinking Cowtail iced coffees because you're going to order a cold brew coffee maker.
Yes.
And we've already got all the sugar-free syrups except the chocolate.
So we have to order the chocolate online. We'll be making our own
Cowtail.
cold brew iced coffee Cowtail flavored drink.
Another game we got to the table was Cryo by Tom Jolly and Luke Laurie from Z-Man Games. And this is I'm going to say it, easy game, standard worker placement, Marty. That's it. That's all we need to say. No need to go over rules. Get your victory points. You're going to win. Life is good. Just place your workers, get some resources, use those resources to build stuff. Maybe not. What?
If that's the case, then shouldn't this been a quick hit and not like a full segment?
Well, I think we want to give it a little time because of one of the most ingenious things that I liked about this game.
Okay, so hold on.
What?
It's Cryo. Wow, I always say, my gosh. Cryo. I would say this is a Easium type game.
Easium? I'd agree with Easium.
What's the theme? What am I trying to do here, Tony? What's the whole goal? Because I think that's important and one reason why I enjoyed it, because I think the theme actually worked in this sometime themeless style Euro worker placement game.
So we're Rocketmen, and we're on our way to a destination. Something has happened, and we are traveling in a rocket, and all the people that we're transporting are in cryogenics because we're having to travel through space. But something bad has happened on the ship, and the ship is crashing on this planet. This planet is not really habitable on the surface. Matter of fact, it is freaking cold. It's real cold, and we are going to die if we don't get all the people in our little stasis pods underground. They'll just freeze right there. They will be cryo popsicles. That's what they're going to be. They're going to die. So first off, they're in cryostasis, which means they're already frozen, but it's going to get so cold that everything's going to shut down and not be able to keep the ship stasis stuff alive.
Ooh, you got deep.
I know. So you're trying to get the people below the surface to be able to save them. And basically, they're going to have to be living under this planet forever now because the ship's destroyed. Mm-hmm. So sad. It's a sad game.
No, it's a joyous game if you can succeed in getting all your crew pods in the caverns underneath the planet to keep them safe. And that's what we're trying to do.
But we're not cooperating. No.
Everybody's, out on their own. It's like everybody's got their own ships and stuff to worry about. We ain't helping each other out.
And you've got 3 little drones that you can send out to the ship parts. There's 4 separate ship parts that will allow you to be able to collect resources or move some of your stasis pods or be able to play cards.
But Tony said there's some clever stuff here. Number one, you have your own player board that has the standard fare of you have 4 resources that you're tracking. These resources will be used to pay for things, to convert things. There's an energy track that you'll need to spend in order to get your crew pods that you've collected down to the caverns underneath. But what is really interesting to me is the fact that each of us over the course of time are going to develop out our cargo bay and our ship with special abilities. And that's where the cards come in. So you have these cards that are multi-use cards, which I like. The cards can be used to give you permanent abilities to the ship. Maybe you can make your ship a little bit cheaper when spending energy to get them down to the cavern. One that I liked is at the beginning of the game, you have damaged areas that are randomly put on the board that you can't put your drones, which may cover up some access to some of the actions on the board and making them less accessible. You can still get to them, but not as many people can get to them. One of the ones that I took, and I think you took also, Tony, is you can put your drone on a damaged area, which was big, so that nothing was blocked. The other thing that you can do is the card can be used as a ship itself, where you can put crew pods and send that ship down into the cavern to deliver your crew pods to underneath the caverns. And the other thing is the card can either be used for an in-game victory condition.
Oh, and don't forget about scrapping the card to get just resources.
So it has 4 uses. 1 card, 4 uses. You decide how you're going to use it. I think that was very, very clever, and I enjoyed that part of it.
Yes. And when the card part of it is if you launch the ship to go to the cavern, it's discarded. But if you use it as an upgrade to your platform, it's not. You can discard it, but there's not that many different cards. I think there's like 8 total.
And you only have 3 slots on your pod for an upgrade.
So it's not like you're going to be cycling through a whole bunch of cards. You're going to see them all, especially if you take the action to be able to draw a card. And the other thing that I enjoyed about this game from the standpoint is, hey, when you place your worker or your drone there, certain actions gave you the ability to do it 3 times, 2 times, 1 time, whatever. It's up to you to decide how many times you want to use it, if there's that many, as long as you can pay for it. So if I want to draw 3 cards, I would place it there. I would say I'm drawing 3 cards. I would spend the energy required, and I would do that. I kind of like that it was up to me on how many times I wanted to use it. And then from a standpoint of the drones, I mean, you only have 3. You never upgrade more than 3. That's all that you have. And so it's very important that you use them to maximize. When you land the drones there and collect the resources, you have a couple actions with that. You can either collect the resources on your player board by saying, okay, I'm going to increase it by this green energy by 2 because that's what's on there, and discard it. Or I can take that and then put it on my platform so that later when I recall a pod, I can either gain that, or, which is the part I really like because you're building this, I can spend it to get another action at the bottom of that track. That was kind of neat for me. I enjoyed how am I going to build out my board.
Yeah, and you said pod, but it was drawn when you would crawl a drone, not the pod.
Yes.
Because they are two distinct things. Yeah, I liked it when you put your drone down. It's usually in between multiple actions, so you get to pick which one that you want. The little tokens you talked about randomly come out at the beginning of the game, so they're always different. But yes, I really like that too. So much like Raiders of the North Sea and Raiders of Scythia, pulling back workers get you something. I love that when you pull back your drones, there are 6 slots on your platform that you can put your drones in that potentially could activate things that you've built previously. Like Tony said, you may have it so that, hey, when I bring the drone back to this slot on my board, maybe I've collected one of those green tokens and put it in this is what this action cost. If I pay a green, when I put my drone back on the board, I get to draw a card or play a card. Or maybe I get a wild resource, which was extremely beneficial. Or maybe I get an energy. Or maybe I get to draw back a pod. You decide how you want to do it and how you fill in that board. Extremely clever. So I love it that when, oh man, all I get to do this turn is just pull back my drones. No, you get to pull back your drones and potentially do other things on that turn when you put those drones back on your platform. Love that mechanic.
And one of the things that you have to do when you pull back, so the game is played based on the number of players. There's so many chits you put out that will determine how many times people can return their drones. That's the round counter for you. When you do that, you're going to say, okay, I am going to return my drones. And when I do, I am going to take a token that's been put out on the board that will either gain me a resource or sabotage where one of the crew stasis is, where the crews are placed on the board. And that will destroy them unless there's some way for you to avoid that. So there's that sort of like, take that. I've removed all my little pods from that area. I'm going to place the sabotage there and destroy your pods. So there's a little take that in this game, but not that much. I didn't find it to be that detrimental.
It was not, but it was something you had to think of. And if you saw a sabotage token sitting in a stasis area and you were the only pods that were in there, it made you want to get a drone out there to try to collect those pods and put them on your platform or ship. And there was another cool section of the board where you could put the pods in certain zones on the board that when you got your drones back, the pods could give you resources of that particular type. I thought that was interesting too. And we were all taking advantage of that. Now, here's the thing is, when the game ends, any pod that's on the surface, they're gone. They're lost forever. You want as many under the caverns as possible, and that's the whole goal. Get pods to your ship, get pods to your platform, launch them, and it's going to cost energy. You're going to spend energy. The first location is like 1 energy to get to, but then as it fans out from there, it costs more and more energy to get to the different cavern areas, and they're face down. And there's something called a scouting action, which will allow you to flip over the different zones and be able to put one of your pods there. But why that's important is at the very end of the game, each of the zones in the cavern have a area majority bonus, such that whoever has the most pods on this particular zone tile will get X amount of points. Whoever has second most gets X amount. So then that's another scoring mechanism at the end of the game. Now you're just trying to decide where to get your pods. And if you can get the majority in a lot of different areas, it's going to score you additional victory points.
Yep. And you get points for having them down there. I mean, you get X victory points for number of pods you have down there in general. Secret hidden agendas that you place, you can only place 3 over on your platform. Number that you got down in there, area control, total it up, highest victory points is the winner. It's one of those games, I think, from a worker placement game. It's unique. Love the platform. Love the components. I don't know if it's going to bump other worker placements games off for me, but it's still a very good, straightforward, easy teach, in my opinion, type of game.
I totally agree. I do agree there was an easy teach. If you've played worker placement games before, this total makes logic sense. The resource management makes total sense. You've seen many games like this. Again, the cleverness is upgrading your platform with different abilities, the multi-use cards. It does add some area majority elements into it you need to think about. You do have the in-game scoring victory points, which will kind of drive the way you want to go. It's a lot of things we've seen in the past cleverly put together in a very tight game that plays anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. And Tony, one thing I love too, you mentioned that you don't get additional drones over the course of the game. You know, in many worker placement games, the further you move into the rounds, you can unlock additional workers. And what that does is that makes each round longer. So by the end, the last round that you play will be a lot longer than the first round. That's what I liked about this game. Every round was about the same amount of time. It didn't get slower as the game went on. It moved at a quick pace, and you knew that in the sixth round is going to take just about as long as the first round because nobody has additional workers that are going on the board. So the pacing of the game was perfect for me.
And when it comes back to recalling your drones, you don't have to spend all of them. You can recall at any time as long as there's one out there. And that can pick up the game. If you're trying to, like I said, there is that take that element. And so if somebody wants to go out there and say, hey, I'm going to recall this one drone and then sabotage that one crew area, guess what? That's what they can do. And that will speed up the game. Even at the end of the game, people could be saying, I'm going to place this one because I know I got area majority in this one big victory point scoring cavern. I want this game to end so no one else can get their crews down there.
Right. So you can rush the game if you want to and try to get to the end before somebody can take over your majority spots. Even though maybe you'll sacrifice a couple crew pods on the surface, keeping those majorities may be more important to you in the end. So yeah, Tony, I see what you're saying where it may not work at other worker placement games, but I love what Luke Laurie did about combining so many things that are really cool into a game that works really well, moves really quick. And if you want something like that, that includes all these multi-use cards, being able to build your own little engine on your board, straightforward resource management, straightforward worker placement that doesn't drag over the course of the game. For me, Cryo is one I think you should check out then.
Yeah, and for me, it's a standpoint of quick, easy teach. If I want to get this to the table, I know I can do that. A quick review for myself. I can quickly explain it to someone and say, okay, there's a simple worker placement game for y'all to do. Or what'd you call it? Easy, medium, e-mimi? What was it?
It's an easium.
It's an easium game. Once again, Cryo, Luke Laurie, Tom Jolly from Z-Man Games. So Marty, I have a problem and Portal needs to solve it.
What is that, Tony?
I've been saying portalgamesus.com for a long time.
Uh-oh.
And now I see you can type in shopportalgames.com. That's SHOPPORTAL games.com. And it'll take you to their website, just like Portal Games US. Did I receive a memo of that? That's my problem. There's no communication here. We got to work on that over at portalgamesus.com or shopportalgames.com. So I need to make sure that people can go out there and check out all the great products that Ignacy has. You've got Detective Still. You've got Robinson Crusoe. There is this new game called Stronghold Undead. I've heard about it. It's rumored to be there. I think Marty has it. I cannot wait to play it.
I have it. We just need that long, good Saturday afternoon when we can get together and sit down and get through it. I can't wait.
I know. And then, of course, Ignacy has started something. It's not new, but it's new for me. Marty makes it part of his weekly thing, and that is Ignacy's vlogs. He started that, it's 9 a.m. on Eastern time? Is that when that comes out?
I believe it's 9 or 10 a.m. Eastern time on Mondays. He has a topic. He'll sit down and talk about the topic, plus give updates on Portal.
And then, of course, there are more open world campaign expansions for Rise of the Empires coming out. And don't forget those new expansions coming out, Vienna Connection.
Well, that's not an expansion.
It's not
a standalone game.
I'm sorry. There's just so much coming out from there. Well, what's the expansion?
The expansion is Egyptians for Empires of the North, which I cannot wait.
Oh, I'm excited.
2 new factions to try out.
And did Joanna do that one?
Yes. She's the designer of this.
So we know it's going to be a success.
Oh!
ShopPortalGames.com. Well, we have come to the end of another riveting rolling dice and taking names. I'm going to use it whether it applies or not, Marty. I don't care. It's riveting.
It's riveting. You mean like actual rivets? Like we did something to hold everything together?
Absolutely. We held this together. We have kept it going. It is solid. It didn't fall apart on a planet. We're not going to freeze or anything because our spaceship was built strong. We made it to our destination.
We built this spaceship.
We didn't turn over a bunch of zeros and have to abort our mission.
Push your luck, man. If anything has push your luck in it, I just need to say I'm out.
Okay. That's fine with me. You can be out. Well, I am still thirsty. So can we jump to this next taste test before we
so what
get
is
out
this
of
one,
here?
Tony? Tell me about it. What is this one?
This is Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. This is Frostbite. Now, this has got a big old shark on it. I've never had Frostbite.
I have not either.
All right, so let's
Here we go.
Here we go. Let's give this a taste test.
What is that flavor?
Shark.
Is it berry?
It's a berry.
What is this?
It's a berry. It's by sodium bicarbonate. That's the flavor.
I mean, it's fine. So it has a fruity taste. I don't taste Mountain Dew at all. I guess it's just simply a branding thing. Mountain Dew everything. Because I guess if something was just called Frostbite, they wouldn't try it.
I guess the whole thing is to provide that berry, that cool sense, and then bite you on the end.
A little bit of citrus. Mm-hmm. It's fine. Which did you like better between the Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar and this?
Actually, the Dr. Pepper.
Yep, me too.
So
I like the Dr. Pepper more. I'll drink it. It's zero sugar, but yeah. So Frostbite, there are others I like better.
Yeah, Mountain Dew Zero. Come on.
Yep,
There
exactly.
All right, so we usually in our intro we will do a Switch thing, talk about the Switch, talk about what we've doing on the Switch, and I have not played on my Switch in a couple of days.
Okay.
But I saw over on the Rolling Dice and Taking Aim Discord channel that there is the new Monster Hunter Rise update coming. What? I don't have time for this.
So this will be before the episode comes out, but after this recording, it's going to be on April 27th. 2.0 is coming, and I asked Adam, I said, already? And he said, well, here's the deal. Capcom wanted this game out ASAP. They wanted it to get in this fiscal year. So they purposely held back content knowing it was going to be coming out. And I said, but is this free? He went, oh yeah, this is free. He said the amount of content that you're going to get from Capcom from Monster Hunter is going to be insane. So the first thing they're doing, introducing new monsters. And he said that is the beauty of Monster Hunter, is that it will just continue to stay with you. And I said, Adam, every time I look at this, there's all this stuff. Tony, you were telling me you're watching videos on the best buddies to take and everything like that. He said, when you think you found it all, you find something else that's just, there's even more customization and things that I can do. He said, that's just what this game is.
Yeah, you got to do your talisman. Your melding of your talisman, they got to fix that.
I don't even know what that is.
I mean, you got one at the beginning of the game, so you need to go check that out. And as you get farther along in the game, you'll be able to, there'll be rare drops. You'll be chasing the loot. Is what you'll be doing. And that's, you just got to get better at your weapons, better at your builds, get your better armor, and eventually, you'll be able to hunt these big bad ones. I'm going to be scared when I encounter some of these ones I'm seeing on these YouTube videos. There's no way I'm going to be able to take them out.
That's where we got to team up. You and I got to figure out how to get the multiplayer up and running, and so we can help each other out. And then they're also going to tease Monster Hunter Stories 2, which is an RPG in the Monster Hunter universe. I never played Stories 1. Adam said it was a solid game. He said he'll be over Stories 2. So I'm kind of curious to see what kind of RPG it's going to be.
I love RPGs for some odd reason.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yeah, but I don't have time. I have got to go learn the rules. We have the prototype for Forbidden Games Mosaic. And this is that Civ game that you're very excited about. And I said, well, send it my way. I'll learn it. You've been learning the last few games. And we got this big old box, Marty. I'm very excited. Maybe I'll open up the camera, get it up and running, and I'll take some pictures with, do some YouTube stuff. I don't know if time permits, but it's a game, a civilization game. But right now, what's in the box is amazing. And yet Glenn sent us an email and said, it's even better. And one of the images he sent, I don't know if you looked at the art, but it's all about these little mosaic tiles that have put together to form the image. Just like you would see like in Rome. It's a mosaic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I love the artwork to this. So I've got to get that learned so that we can have that on gaming night. So in the next show, we can talk about it because there will be a Kickstarter from it. But you also got a game you got to learn. So I'm not going to keep that from you while you have to learn these Mosaic and the new one. What do you got to teach me?
All right, so also next episode is going to be a Vampire the Masquerade-centric episode where we're going to talk about Vampire the Masquerade Rivals, the card game, which we just played. We'll give our quick first impressions here in a second. And Vampire Vendetta, which is a little 30-minute game based in that universe. And also, I'm just going to look over the Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition RPG. Just going to flip through it and read some of it because Renegade is going to be releasing that under their publishing arm later this summer. If you already have 5th edition, great. You've got everything. It's the same book. It's just that Renegade's going to be publishing it. So we'll be doing that next episode. So Tony, you and I have played a couple games of Vampire the Masquerade Rivals, which is a competitive LCG style game. It was on Kickstarter. Kickstarter's coming soon. We got our early copy. This game plays 2 to 4 players. You and I have played 2-player, played 3-player. I played a couple times on Tabletopia. So just quick first impressions of the first couple games. What do you think?
Still got to get those rules down, just like I did with Netrunner. Not everything's clicking yet. It's going to click. Enjoying it so far, but there are going to be some nuances to this game that I have got to learn. Just like I had to learn how to generate money in Netrunner, I'm going to have to understand what the scoring mechanisms are, what the combos are with the certain various vampire families.
Clans.
I was going to say clans, but I was like, why can't they just be families? They look like families, normal people. But anyway, I've got to learn about pick one that I like, learn it, to learn the techniques of the game and understand how to use those abilities to achieve my agendas. That is what's going to really sell me on this game. Multiple ways to win. That is what I'm going to enjoy.
So for me, the appeal to this game was always from day one, multiple ways to win. You said, Tony, you weren't crazy about some games where it was nothing about just taking the life down of one particular figure and you win. There's multiple ways to win this game. One is just getting 13 agenda points. Or you can knock out your rival, which I think this game supports multiple player really well, from 3 to 4 players. Everybody has a unique rival. If you take out your particular rival, basically get rid of all their vampires, that triggers the end of the game. If somebody else takes out your rival, you get a bonus for it. So you can't really team up on somebody because you may be benefiting somebody else if you do that. If you run out of prestige, that also triggers into the game. So there's several ways to trigger the game. But I also like the concept of you start out with 20 prestige at the beginning of the game, and then you have a general supply of 12 more, and you have to keep those two separate. I said it's kind of like City of the Big Shoulders. We had 2 different funds, your personal fund and your company fund. You got to make sure to keep these two separate because you're going to spend things from your personal supply of prestige, like activating vampires, paying for things. But when you gain prestige, it'll come from your general supply. And then there's the concept of the multiplayer thing of conspiracies where you and I can team up against somebody else, but using conspiracy. All right. I said conspiracy. Using scheme is actually a scheme where we can team up together and over the course of the game, build up this card to trigger it. Conspiracy is where somebody's going to say, hey, you know what? Here's a question. Everybody's going to get 3 prestige. What do you think? And then we have a chance to bid on it using influence. You can blind bid using your prestige. It's a deep game. It is one of those, it's like, yeah, it's more along the lines of Netrunner because of its depth and the ways to play the game. But thematically, I think it's cool. You got locations. You've got the streets where you can do your fighting. You've got a central deck, which everybody has to deal with, which has events that come out, which everybody must deal with. You have these military type people that come out that are all trying to take out all the vampires at the end of your turn. If they're still in the middle of the table, you can take damage. So do you want to take them out or leave them for somebody else to deal with? So there's a lot going on. So yes, first impressions is I still like what I've seen so far playing the physical game, and I can't wait to dig into it more. And so we'll do a full review in our next episode when we get some more games under our belt.
And until then, keep rolling dice.
Wow, that was abrupt and taking names. Hey y'all, thanks for listening. And remember, our next episode is going to be a Vampire the Masquerade-centric episode. So make sure to follow us on Twitter at Dyson Names, Instagram Dyson Names, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please join our Discord channel where we have fun every single day talking about so many different topics. Tony, here's one of the bad things about having 2 soft drinks during a recording.